things develop. I'm going to go straight into it because I know there's a lot happening. As we're preparing for this interview, Ms. Aleema, your brother, former Prime Minister Imran Khan, put out a statement on Twitter. And I was pretty surprised to read the statement. It just shows how he's standing strong despite everything that's happening. So I'll read out parts of the statement, Ms. Khanam, and get your thoughts on it. He says, Asim Munir, who's the head of the military, and for people that are not aware of Pakistani politics, the military, and that's my view, the military has power in Pakistan, and they're the ones that are, kind of pulling the strings, at least in the view of many in Pakistan, and as well as people from the outside. So Asim Munir is the leader in that military. Asim Munir has an insatiable hunger for power, that's from your brother, which is why he has imposed the worst form of dictatorship. Instead of demanding that I apologize, Asim Munir should apologize to me. So your brother implies that he was asked to apologize, which I'm going to ask you about. The events of May 9th, 2023 were orchestrated by the same person who stole the CCTV footage. At present, May 9th has become Asim Munir's insurance policy. So essentially, May 9th is when the protests happened, and they're using this as a reason, as an excuse to target your family, which I'll let you explain on. And the CCTV footage, which you explained in our last interview 5 days ago, was when your son, one of your sons, your two sons, in 24 hours were essentially kidnapped or taken to jail, to the shock of many. And it's all being blamed on those May 9th events. So, Aleema, again, pleasure to have you, and I'd love to get your comments on those statements from former Prime Minister Imran Khan.
Actually, we did visit him. I think I visited after 4 months, but together as my sisters and myself together, I think this was a visit after maybe 4.5 months. My brother, there were other people. This is as I said, after 4.5 months, because they've squeezed our visits to such an extent that lawyers or his lawyers who are also in his party as the chairman, he's a lawyer, the Secretary General is a lawyer, and then there's a senator. So there were 3 of them who also came in to visit with him. And it was a bigger gathering of another 2 or 3 lawyers. The reason I'm mentioning it is it's very rare. For the past 4 months, it's been so limited that it was the first time he had access to more people than 1 or 2 of his professional lawyers. And normally our visits are very short. They are about 20 minutes if it's a family visit, or if it's a legal visit, it's not more than 20 minutes. But this time there were about 3.5 hours in a court hearing. It was a jail court hearing. So he had information, and he also heard that there was a journalist who went out and said that all Imran Khan has to do to get his freedom is to apologize for the 9th of May. So this upset him, and he said that it's not me who should apologize for 9th May. The people who stole the CCTV footage of all these buildings, there is proof of who's done it. Imran Khan has said for 2 years that it should be, if they should set up a judicial commission, there should be an inquiry. And he said it right after 9th May, that there should be a judicial inquiry. Anybody who's responsible for setting fire to the buildings or whoever attacked the buildings should be investigated with proof, and they should be punished for their crime. Because during those protests, there were at least a dozen protesters who were killed, and there were several of them with gunshot wounds, more like sniper rifle. So he said that after 9th May, the way the people associated with the political party or associated with Imran Khan have been, abused, arrested, threatened. People have suffered a lot since the past 2 years. And he said, all the suffering that has been caused, it is to us that Asim Munir should apologize. He should apologize to me, not the other way around. And this was in context to the information he was given to him that they're looking for an apology, a lot of people have even approached us. We have no information firsthand, but a lot of people have told us that what they're looking for is an apology. But then the legal minds also say that the moment you apologize, you're also admitting to being responsible for something. And this is not a proper procedure. I mean, anybody responsible for any crime should be investigated, be presented, evidence should be presented against them, and that's the proper procedure. So all anybody is asking for is a proper investigation, and
And legal due process.
anybody who they feel needs to be picked up is added to the 9th May. 9th May has become sort of it's like a big bowl that you put everybody into. And my sons, when they were picked up, were then added into, which is not possible after 14, 15 months of a crime or whatever is supposed to happen. So everybody is added into the 9th May. And he's been added in what they call a supplementary. All this we've learned during our own visits to the court or whenever we are all charged with. I'm constantly being added to new cases. So to that, my brother had said that if the judges had a conscience, and if they had done their job, or basically if they'd sort of dispensed with justice as they're supposed to, all this human rights abuse and this all that's happening to people would never happen. Because remember, everything that's happening right now is it's got a legal cover, because a judge is handing out convictions without any evidence. They are ordered to hand out convictions. So several of the judges have sort of told people around them, or the information comes out that my family is being threatened, or maybe they're doing it for their job. Some might be just doing it for the compensation they're going to get. But several of them have been under a lot of pressure. There are judges who have given some amazing judgments, and they suddenly became heroes for having stood up where they've refused to hand out sentences which are so blatantly inhuman. So there are better judges. But my brother did send out that message yesterday, that if the lawyers had a conscience, if they were clear about their responsibility to the people, they would have dispensed with justice, and none of us would have suffered this abuse that's being handed out to people.
So I think, correction, when he mentions who stole the CCTV footage, we're not talking about the footage when your sons were, taken into custody, surprised, because when your sons were taken into custody, they also took all the CCTV footage except one that showed the armed men. Exactly, one camera showed the armed men taking him into custody. You're referring to what happened on May 9th. During the protest, a lot of the CCTV footage were taken by someone to hide in what you view as what really happened that day, correct?
Yeah, I think there's a statement which says that the CCTV footage was stolen. Now, these are government buildings. They have lots and lots of cameras everywhere, CCTV cameras everywhere. And then when it was asked for in court, they said that the CCTV footage is stolen, which is not possible. But all it takes is the CCTV footage in all these public buildings that they claim was burned. Please keep in mind that the only thing that everybody's suffering for the past 2 years is fire set to some buildings. They claim that there was maybe a TV station in Peshawar. There was, I think, it's not the headquarters. In Pindi, there was a little guardhouse which had a little fire in it inside the gate of the military headquarters. It's not inside. I think it's a little guardhouse. Like we really don't know. If you ask that, if you have to see the convictions, and then you have to see what was set on fire. It was a house where the corps commander lived, and things were. There is footage from people's cameras where the things were already broken before people even went in. Now, when you're in a mob situation and somebody says, come inside, some of the boys, obviously in a mob, anywhere in the world, if there's a protest, you are invited in, they went in, and they do what young people do. You can see them in the footage, they're breaking things. How does that translate? A few people doing that, how does that translate into 10,000 people being nominated, thousands being put in jail without any trial? At the moment, a lot of them have gotten bail, some serving, being in jail for 13 months, no trial. There are some trials happening right now. And even now, the people who are being convicted, there is no evidence. Maximum evidence that is heard is a policeman. One of the comical ones was in court. The policeman said, well, he was hiding under a table or hiding under a sofa while there was a meeting taking place in my brother's house with his party members in a drawing room, in a lounge, and where he heard a conspiracy being hatched to burn a couple of buildings. So there is no evidence, like, and under those charges, people have been convicted up to 10 years. Just it's really blatant. Everybody in Pakistan knows it. The judges know it. They are handing out 10-year sentences. Suddenly they pick up somebody, and that person, there's a woman, for example, a person protesting in one of these cities. She's got 3 young daughters that she supports. She's been sentenced, convicted to 10 years as well. So my brother's concern while we were sitting there and he was talking, he says, I'm very, very concerned that when injustice is to that extent, when there's no fairness in how people are being dealt with, I fear people's reaction. If there is no justice being handed out by the courts, and at the moment there is absolutely no confidence in our court system. It is not just people who are fearing it. What's happening because of the fear of the courts being helpless, especially after an amendment where my brothers always said, and the legal fraternity will tell you that the judges are basically now like a government department. It's like a government department. They're not independent as judiciary. So the fear is that what the atmosphere it's created, that one, people are leaving the country. There are at least 2.5 billion people who've left, not because they don't have a job. They fear that they fear for themselves, that there's going to be no justice. People are not setting up companies over here. There's no investment. My brother also said that he's very concerned that no international company is going to come into Pakistan because they don't think they're protected under any law, because there is no faith in the judicial system at the moment.
And your brother said something. And your brother said something further. And I want to ask you about Imran Khan's medical situation as well, because a lot of people are concerned. He said, it is not a hybrid system that is in place in our country, but the dictatorship of Asim Munir. That is precisely why President Trump invited him instead of the current Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, Prime Minister Sharif. So what your brother saying is that the person in power, the person pulling all those strings, and I know most people know this already, is the Chief of Army Staff. His name is Asim Munir. Can you tell me more about how much influence, how much power does Asim Munir have? That's the first question. And the second one is there some sort of settlement? Because if he has that much influence, he has that much power over the judicial system, forcing the courts to give out those sentences that just don't make sense when there's no evidence, hiding evidence like CCTV footage and all the other allegations. Is there an offer for you? Is there an offer for your brother to be like, where he remains in power, but at least your brother's no longer in jail, his wife is no longer in solitary confinement for months, and your sons are not in jail, your nephew's not in jail anymore, and all those other supporters? Is there anything else other than just complete, because I just don't know what the solution is.
I know what you're saying. A lot of people, this is a discussion many people have with us. But one of the things was that what the offer is had is, first of all, it was to leave the country. Remember, we do not have any direct offers as a family. Nothing has come to us direct. It's indirect. Somebody comes and mentions it. Somebody's, like not even a direct message, but Imran Khan has an opportunity. He can leave the country in the beginning. Right in the beginning, it was like he's free to leave the country. And my brother said, why should I leave the country? So then the other sound bites we were getting, and my brother got them too, was that he should apologize. He said, what am I supposed to apologize for? I've always said that there should be a due process. It should be followed, and whoever is responsible should face the consequences. But why is my brother supposed to apologize? At the time, on 9th May, when there was protests and there were a few buildings that burned, Imran Khan was in jail. That's the day he was arrested, and he was in jail for the next few days. Do keep in mind, when my brother was arrested, he was abducted, because it cannot be termed as an arrest, because he was in the court. He was in the court, and in court you do not arrest people. He was already there for some bail for petition, and he was getting his biometrics done. When they smashed the glass, if these protesters are being accused for smashing the windows in one place, in one location, so how can Rangers come in and smash the windows? They smashed the place, and they basically abducted him, because when he was presented in the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice said that he was illegally abducted, because it cannot be called termed arrest, because Rangers are not the ones who are supposed to arrest anyone. So that was an illegal act. And so the Supreme Court asked that he be released. So the thing is that when you say what is in Pakistan right now, please do remember that on the 8th of February, after all that happened to Imran Khan and his party, after this 9th May, they took away his party symbol. They were sort of harassing anybody who stood in his or took his ticket, like he wanted to stand on his ticket. They did everything. That's what you call pre-poll rigging. And then there was an election. No symbol, because there's a high literacy rate. There was people were sort of could not campaign. No campaign at all. There was absolutely, if you came out, you got arrested. So under all those circumstances, how did Imran Khan get a 2/3 majority? This is a fact. This is not a allegation anybody's making against the interim government. It is a fact. Everybody in Pakistan knows it. So if all that happened, it is not because of 9th May that all this is happening. It is because it is not Imran Khan they fear. It is the voice of the people they fear, because the people have decided that Imran Khan is their voice. And right now, after 2 years in jail, they thought if they made life difficult for him, he will give up, and he'll agree to the terms they're giving him, which is the offer is that we'll release you, but just keep quiet, accept the status quo, basically.
Would you be open to that? would you be open for that, considering how far they've gone? Even though it doesn't seem right, even though I think it's horrible, even though I'm a believer in democracy, I live in a I come from a democracy, I lived in Australia. If isn't it better for your family, for your kids, for your nephew, for your brother, for his wife, for his supporters, to accept the status quo where it's just not the best for Pakistan, not the best for Pakistani people, but maybe best for you, him, and your family?
Actually, it's not about the family. My brother's wife, she's been, first she was house arrested, then they put her in prison, and my brother has repeatedly said the reason his wife is in jail is because they are putting pressure, they're making life difficult for her in jail so that she puts pressure on him. And he repeatedly said, in fact, this time he told us, he says, you go out and say they can put all my family in jail, where my sister said, you want, I'm not sure that you want to send all of us to, he says, yeah, you can put all my family in jail. I will not move
Wow.
away from my principled stand that he's standing for the rule of law. He's standing for Pakistan. That's his decision. He's only in jail. They want him to come out on terms for himself personally. And he's saying his demand is very clear. For rule of law, independent judiciary. He expects independent media. He expects to have a democratic process of fair and free elections. So he says, without that, Pakistan is, forget about developing. He says, we are going to be the future is not good for the youth of this country. And he's fighting for that.
What is he trying to achieve? I understand he said rule of law, but how? Because if he keeps fighting, he's in jail, family members are in jail. I hope you don't end up in jail, because I know there's a arrest warrant for you as well, which is heartbreaking to hear. How far can you guys fight? I support the cause, and I've been supporting the cause for a long time because I'm a believer in democracy. But my heart's starting to go out to your two sons, one I know, yourself, and obviously Imran Khan, his wife, and his supporters, and your nephew.
Mario, so many people have been incarcerated in jail. So many innocent people. I mean, bread earners for their families. And they come out of jail. If you see them or you hear them, I think we are doing very little compared to what others are willing to do. You see okay, because I'm speaking to you, and it's an international, in Pakistan, people would understand better. What Imran Khan, the role Imran Khan has played, and we are so proud of him. And we feel honored to be related to him, is that he actually has awakened the people. He has taught the young generation that they have a right in this country. He's taught them that you have a right. It's your right to stand up and ask. You have to stand up and ask for your right. Then he said you've got to fight for your rights. He said you will never be handed over your right, your rightful place in this country unless you do not fight for it. He says nobody's going to give it to you. You have to fight for it. And you are not to be used. You're not to be abused. You should not accept that you should be abused. What he's done is he's educated the young people, he's educated people, he's taught them. And what I've seen, he's in jail, but I'll tell you what I've seen. People are so aware in Pakistan. The young children are aware now. It's it's not politicized, very aware people. They've watched how the judiciary is behaving. They are following the judges. They are following every step of the way. They're following how the systems in Pakistan are being dismantled. You speak to journalists, they are telling you. I mean, you should speak to, they openly tell you that we get a notice, the anchors, they get a notice, today you're not allowed to speak on this topic, full stop. They get a message. The channels are sent messages. We do not want anybody to talk on this topic. There should be no photographs of this person. This will not receive any coverage. You will not speak on. They are given instructions on a daily basis from the government. That's suppression of no information to the media. But the change, that the reason Pakistan is a thriving and an aware society and willing to stand for their rights is because of social media. So social media has become a voice of the people. And when you say that Imran Khan, everybody only says one thing. I hope Imran Khan is not going to give up. I hope Imran Khan keeps standing for us. So as far as our family is concerned, it's a very small contribution where if we can stand strong, basically they want, we will stand with our brother. He's stood up for his country. What do we have to lose? I told somebody, I said, at this age, life doesn't have that much of a meaning. So if you leave this world, if you die, if you leave this world, at least there was a meaning to it, and you died for a purpose. It's to that extent. People have threatened us. They said, I mean, they warned us that, you could be driving down the road. It's not that they're going to kill you with a bullet, but there'll be a car accident and you'll die. I said, well, being a Muslim, you have to have faith that the time of death is written, and when it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And that's what Imran Khan says. He says, listen, my life is not in our Simoni's hands, and my life is in Allah's hands. And but I will not, at this point in my life, give up what I really believe in. He says it's very important to stand up for a principle. And that's how it is. It's not about saving his life. He believes that you give up your life for a principle. You give up your life for something you believe in.
I've seen those same values when I interviewed and met his two sons, Sulaiman and Qasim Khan. He's kind of passed on those same values to them as his children. I do want to mention something else that's also heartbreaking that I read in his statement a few hours ago about his wife, Bushra Bibi. He said, for the past 8 months, my wife, Bushra Bibi, has also been held in solitary confinement. Such treatment of women is unprecedented in the history of Pakistan, not even under Yahya Khan. Faisal Vauda, who acts as a mouthpiece of the establishment, issued statements that Bushra Bibi would seek separation from me. So that was a member of the establishment, of the military, of the government, saying that his wife would seek separation from Imran Khan, which is, if true, is such a cruel thing to do. She was pressured to do so, but she stood firmly by my side. It's just sad to hear his wife, who's in solitary confinement for months, I think it was like 4 months, is still standing by her husband's side. She's got the same courage as you do. Previously, when Asim Munir was removed from the post of DG ISI, he attempted to contact Bushra Bibi through Zulfi Bukhari, but she refused. That is why she's being subjected to such cruel treatment today. So essentially, the leader of the military establishment tried to reach out to Imran Khan's wife, which I assume for the purpose of pressuring Imran Khan to apologize or to yield, but she refused. And that is, Imran Khan is saying this is the reason she's in jail. That is why she's being subjected to such cruel treatment today, solitary confinement. She's kept in solitary confinement on deplorable conditions, where she has suffered electric shocks and physical wound to a woman, to his wife. She's provided polluted water to use. Every form of cruelty is being inflicted upon her.
Yeah, you see, they've both been in solitary confinement for the past 4 or 5 months. So they meet once a week, like when there's a family meeting, or they should be allowed meetings twice a week, which they haven't been for the past 4 months. As I said, this is being done so that it puts pressure on him to give up on what he believes in. That's why he's saying, that's why they're increasing the pressure. They're increasing the pressure so that he breaks, basically. And this is why he's saying that if everybody's put in behind bars, then they pick up my other nephew, who's charged and convicted for 10 years in a military court. He's been in prison for 2 years as well. So
under harsh conditions as well.
He said the military jail was really bad. Now they're in the regular jail, and they're happier. I mean, comparatively, I mean, it's a jail, but they are, when you say happier, because that was very tough, because they were subjected to some serious, you would say, torture. It was like actually what they, like mental torture, like they were put in solitary confinement for a couple of weeks. People were like, they came out very disturbed after the military confinement. But in jail, they are much better. But as far as Imran Khan and Bushra are concerned, like when we met them yesterday, so people ask us, how did they look? Like, how did they appear? Were they better? It's very important for people, for the public, when they want descriptions, because there's no picture allowed. Nobody can see them. So I said, well, they were fine. They were both looking well. When I say well, considering what they're going through, they're very strong. Like my brother said, I'm stronger, but she's a woman. But I would say that she was also looking well. Her daughter and her sister-in-law were there with us. And I would say that they were both looking, they have been strong in what they're putting up with. Let's put it that way. I mean, they're not going to break. Let's put it that.
Did they?
I would add to
Sounds
that.
like a silly, might be a silly question, but I'm just curious. Did you, when you say they don't break, they don't, like, I just can't imagine, like, I when I read this about Bushra, I just imagined if that happened to me and my girlfriend, if that happens to I wouldn't even describe the feelings I would go through. It's just heartbreaking when they hurt the people close to you. Or if I never even imagined my brother facing the same thing. Did they cry? How were they when they met? How were they on a personal level?
No, actually, I think there was an exposed wire on which he got a electric shock, because it's been raining and there's water in the room, from what I understood. So that I think that's where you get an electric shock from an exposed wire. But they otherwise, it's not. It's like solitary confinement is solitary confinement. It's tough. Uh, when their television is turned off, when they are when there was no newspaper. But when we went yesterday, my brother had newspaper, but they restarted it, I think, and Bushra had a TV, so she had television, and my brother had newspaper. So it improves, I think. Maybe it didn't work. Maybe they tried it they allowed us to go in yesterday, but when my brother's statement came out, uh, they did not allow today's case hearing to happen. They cancelled it. So there was
when the statement came out, the one I'm reading now, when that came out, they canceled the hearing.
Yeah. And I gave some of it out to the press when I came out. So when we came out of jail, it was, when we came out of jail, remember every Tuesday when we sit out all night, sometimes we are picked up by the police. So a lot of people join us for the protest. But when we came out we were actually surprised when we were allowed to go in. But we were like really surprised. So what happened?
Why did they do that? Why do you think they allowed you in?
We asked a lawyer, I said, what happened today? Because we're just so used to sitting out in 40-degree temperature till all night, till late evening, till the police sort of baton charges the people who are around, or they pick us up and drop us out in the middle of nowhere. So we were really surprised. So we asked the lawyer, what do you think happened? He said that when we went to Supreme Court for Imran Khan's bail hearing, the lawyer had approached the Chief Justice for access. Like, we have so many petitions, and the family, the lawyers, nobody's being allowed to meet Imran Khan. So that he thought that the Chief Justice had ensured that we were given access, and the petitions that where the court has given rulings that we should be allowed to meet should happen. So we can only speculate, but we were allowed. And 3 of his political lawyers were also allowed to come in.
Do you think there's fractures within the military establishment where some are standing up to the request by Asim Munir and his close circle, where there's some people standing up against what they see as lawfare and standing up for Imran Khan. Do you think there is those fractures or not really?
Of course. I mean, remember, when somebody, 70% of the military voted for Imran Khan. Of course, I mean, he's a loved person. Everybody loves him. I mean, I'm not talking about following him. This is not cult. People love him. They feel he's their own. When we meet people, they cry for him. The police, the military, everybody. So it is not, everybody knows he's innocent. Of course, he's not a corrupt man. They know he's being put in behind bars because he's standing up for the people. So why would they not be with him? So if one person wants to rule the country for another 10 years, you see, this is not the 70s and this is not the 80s. What he cannot get a grasp of, and I'm telling you, this is not just in Pakistan, this is an international phenomena. What then people are, the older generation, when I say older, I mean anybody over 30 by now. Anybody over 30 is old. What people are not what they are not, and if you use the code book of the 60s or 70s, where you could do all this and use the television for propaganda, there's a generational, I think there's a species change right now. People, the younger generation is independent on they get their own information, they do their own assessments. They are free of all this. They're free of propaganda. They are not buying into this. So if you use an old script in current times, what they are frustrated about is that they don't understand why it's not working. You know what I'm saying? It's
yes,
not working.
They don't have that level of control they used to before. The same strategies of censorship and influencing the information that people get and how they interpret it is no longer working because of what X and other social media platforms are doing.
Yeah, so like you're sitting here and I'm talking to you. You're fine, you're safe. When I'm talking to you, most probably I'm setting myself up to be picked up. This is how
it's so scary.
comprehend
it's so
it.
scary.
No. I'm telling you, you reach a point and you know you're doing it for something very important for Pakistan. I'm telling you, you don't have fear. I don't have fear. People around us don't have fear. It's not just me. If you see the courage of the young people when they've been in jail, breadwinners for their families, they come out, and when they come out and say they can put us back in jail, but we will fight for our rights, it sort of lifts you up. It's reassuring that what you're fighting for is very important. My brother stands for it. If he can do what he's doing, what we do, or we give a little contribution, it's very little. He is the one who's leading. And when he shows courage, ours is a very small effort compared to what he's doing. But the generational change, I'm telling you, the only problem that the old script is facing and the ones who are trying to implement it is that they cannot comprehend the younger generation. If they really understood how the mind right now is, and we are 50% young, 50% of our country is young, and the women, young people respond to their mothers a lot. You know how it is. So when a mother comes out, the child gets courage, and there are women out now, and the mothers are leading. So when a mother steps out, when the women step out, it's a time for change. And there are women who are being sentenced to 10 years in prison. You should see how courageous the women are. You should see when the women come out. You should see when the young people come out. It's incredible. If you tell somebody like Imran Khan, you give up on their hope, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Like I just imagine, like when as you said, I'm sitting here, an Australian citizen in Dubai. I'm obviously very safe, and there's people that are doing the same thing as me, speaking up and having discussions like this in Pakistan, that are just being targeted on a regular basis. I've heard some journalists get beaten up, just being kidnapped from their family. It speaks to the courage, but also the point that you made, and this is maybe a message that I could say, a humble message from me to Asim Munir and everyone else in the government. For anyone that's watching, is I've had discussions like I'm having with you with, for example, Brazil, Eduardo Bolsonaro, the son of former president there. And I've done the same thing in the Middle East, including earlier today. And one thing I've learned as someone very active on X, probably the largest show on X, is that that's what I do on a daily basis. And I've seen the power of social media. So my message to them would be, and I mean this again, very humbly as someone as non-Pakistani, just observing what's happening. I promise you, if the more you continue doing this, it's like you're filling a bucket with boiling water. And what I've seen happen in other countries in recent years, it gets to a stage where it could be too late and it just blows up in their face and it could be a lot worse for them. They cannot keep doing this forever. I genuinely hope, for the sake of Pakistan, again, it's me observing, and obviously for your sake and that of your family and your brother, that they change strategy. They don't continue trying to control the narrative through mainstream media. They don't try to continue coercion and techniques like they've done with you and your family. And they try to listen to the people and try to at least find some sort of middle ground. Does not mean yield power, but it means at least change strategy. That will be my humble kind of comment on the matter, because I've seen this happen time and time again, and it does not work well. Whether it's now or in 5 years or 10 years, probably 5 years, it does not work. And considering how courageous you and your family are, it's incredible. It just makes the situation even harder. And I think the Pakistani people are speaking up about this, and we're seeing this on the ground. Despite everything they're trying, you had, 2/3 votes, despite all the censorship that happened. The amount of support, Pakistanis around the world, anyone I speak to in Pakistan, there's a lot of Pakistanis here in Dubai. When I travel around the world, a lot of Pakistanis that live abroad. I haven't met one person when I say, oh, Imran Khan, or they might remember me from the interview with Imran Khan or his sons. I haven't met one person who didn't like Prime Minister Imran Khan. I've said this to a lot of people over the years, Aleema. In every country, people are politically divided. I have not met one person, not one, in my life, including people that work in the government right now, that I've talked to on a business level. Not one person does not like Imran Khan. And that is a risk for the government if they don't change strategy. I do want to read another comment from your brother about how the family's been. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
When you were talking about the change, another thing my brother said when you were talking about how it's going to change, he sometimes talks to us. I haven't said this on media, but when you talk about how things are going to change, he said sometimes when a system is so decayed, disruption is important. It has to sort of dismantle completely before a new system can be rebuilt. When you leave something in the middle, it's not going to bring the change. So right now, when your judicial system is absolutely, it's so bad right now that in Pakistan, the lawyers say, are we even needed in a court? The lawyers come back sometimes and say, the judge is sitting there, it's written on his face that when he gets an order, he'll read it out. The judge is sitting there without asking a single question. Or some judges have interaction with the lawyers. They ask them, explain that. You'll have to clarify that. I've seen some amazing interaction between lawyers and judges when they want clarification, when they're engaged. And I've also seen when we can know in a minute, the judge has, so the lawyers are talking about, there's this law says, he's sitting and he gives out a conviction. So this is a complete dismantling of a system. So one day, in fact, I forgot to ask him, so when is it that it's got to be completely dismantled and ready to be rebuilt? Because we are waiting for the rebuilding. And so is it with the media. I remember speaking to an anchor maybe nearly 2 years ago. And I said, when Arshad Sharif, which is nearly 2 years ago. He was shot dead in Kenya. And I spoke to a couple of anchors, and I said, I mean, they host some very watched TV programs, like highly respected anchors. I said, why wouldn't you all get together and put your pen? It's like protest. That's what people do in the world. Like, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. Why wouldn't you come together as a community and raise your voice for it? Uh, so they were
What did
scared,
I
so they
say?
didn't do it. They were scared.
Exactly.
They were
The
scared.
example you've given was a journalist that was very vocal against the government, the establishment, investigative journalist, and he was killed
He
in
was an
Kenya for
investigative journal. Yeah, he was
investigative journalist,
investigative,
yeah. And he
and
was
he was very
killed in
good.
Kenya.
He was killed in Kenya. It's known that he was tortured and killed. And you know how many people turned
He was
up for his
tortured as
funeral?
well.
Yeah, he was tortured. It's in his forensic report, his autopsy. He was tortured, and you know how many people turned up for his funeral? It's 500,000.
Wow.
You should see the footage of his funeral when his body came. Uh, People have decided to stand up with the right people, and when you do something like that, that's a message, even from the people of the country. So you have to understand it's an awakened people. So, as you just said, there's a limit to how far you can create fear, because eventually fear gives way to something else. If you look at people, they are they've gone past the fear, and what's happening is with Imran Khan sitting in prison, it's giving people courage. And there have been threats that he's going to be killed in jail. It's the way they did it in Egypt. You know, you put somebody in bars, you make sure he's forgotten in a couple of years. So the idea of uh, sort of putting Imran Khan away, no sound, no voice, nothing, no meetings. So yesterday, when we came out of Adiala, even we were taken aback. There were hundreds of people outside, and they were celebrating. And I turned to my cousin and said, what's happening outside? What happened? Like, we've just come out from jail. So what's the celebration? My brother's still in jail. You know what they were celebrating? We are so happy that the family was able to meet him. They were, you should see the footage. I couldn't I had to talk to the press, because the press is waiting for what we have to say. I, it took 1 hour because they were just celebrating. And I couldn't get to talk to the press till 1 hour. What were they celebrating? And I stopped some people and said, what are you celebrating, Imran? He says, we met you. You met him. The family met him. And I smiled. And they said, the best thing that's happened is we've seen you smile. That means Imran Khan must be in good health. That is how important it is that when we come out, first thing they want to know is he okay? Is he healthy? So I did come and tell the press that we asked him, as he says, something wrong with your eye. He said, no, I had it sort of blurred up once. So my sister says, you have to be seen by a doctor. No, it's okay. So he coughed, and my sister, who's a doctor, said, you coughed. He says, now don't get on my case. I'm fine. And my sister saying, no, I think you coughed. So he says, I'm absolutely okay. He says, no, I don't think you should get yourself checked up. He said, no, I'm fine. So what I'm saying is, it's that important for us. Obviously, we react normally as a family would, but people, they want to know exactly how he looked. They're desperate to see a picture. They just want to know he's okay, and they're coming to a point, they're saying enough is enough. So people are coming to a point. Enough is enough. It's looking ridiculous. I would be concerned, like when you said about international community, and I don't want to get into that international community thing. But when countries talk about human rights, it's like you're fast losing their moral high ground when you talk about democracy and human rights for other countries. Like, it should be based on people-to-people contact. Governments, if they think they're democratic, should respond to the people of the other country. Now, if it was in earlier times, maybe in the 60s, 70s, it's limited information. But right now, current times, it's not just Pakistan which is changing, and I'm sure you're noticing it as well. You're in the uh, on social media, but the change is coming across the world, and the change is that we want humanity. It's a good change. You see people responding to bad things happening because of social media, because independence of people having a right to think for themselves. You People like you are offering that opportunity. So if a wrong thing is happening, it is so nice to see. It's heartening to see people responding to each other across the world. That's humanity. You would think that humanity is lost. It's not lost. It's so if governments have to start thinking along the lines of what their people want, that's democracy. And people really uh, good to see. It's uh, it lifts your spirits when you say across the world people are responding to each other directly. Governments have to redefine themselves. Governments should not say this is a national interest when the people of that country don't think it is their interest. So there's a difference between what national interest is and what people's interest are. It's changing. There is a divide in many societies right now.
Agree, agree. Another question I have for you is: was there a message by Imran Khan to his sons when you met him? Because I know his sons wanted to try to come to Pakistan, they're not getting the visa. Was there
Well,
anything that he asked you to pass to them?
no, he asked, so what about the boys? When are they coming? I said, well, they have applied in the embassy and they're not giving a visa. So he shook his head. I said, well, I don't want him to think. I said, no, we are not giving up. Uh, we'll fight for it. We'll fight for them to have a right to come to Pakistan, and the boys, and we'll do whatever we can, because yeah, he was
I hope,
disappointed.
I hope, I
He
hope one day he
didn't
can
look happy. No, we have to fight for it because he really wants to. He really wants to see
see
them.
them.
He was looking forward to it. He wants to see them. And I didn't say it's not going to happen. I said, no, we are going to fight for it. And they're going to go and sit outside the London embassy and we're going to make sure they get the visa. So we have to do something. It's not right that they're not giving them the visa. And maybe somebody asked me, do you think they abducted your sons to frighten Suleiman and Qasim? I said, Suleiman
Hmm.
and Qasim are not scared.
They're British
They're
citizens. They're
not.
not going to
They're
be.
British citizens, and they're trying to get. That's why I think somebody else said that. That's why the embassy is not giving them. The Pakistan High Commission is not giving them a visa on their British passport, and
Because they can't do, if they come, they can't do anything about it. This is the risk,
so
because then
so yeah. If they come on their NICOP, then they can't. But because if they come on a visa on their British passport, then they get consular service over here. So that's why they're not giving them a visa. But we are hoping that we can raise our voice. The boys will be back in London soon, and they will come and visit.
I hope he gets to see their interview. I know they've done one with Pierce as well. I think he'll be so proud. I think he'll be so proud seeing how his boys have really stepped up. I want to ask you another question. Is there is an arrest warrant against you as well? I know we've talked about it before. Why haven't they arrested you? I know it's a silly, like some people might see as a weird question, but they've arrested the sons, your nephews, your brother. You and your two sisters have not been arrested. Why do you think that is? What is their strategy? What's going on in their mind? Because you're extremely vocal. You're the strongest voice right now.
You see, the only voice I'm raising is for my brother. I have to come out and give his message. Another reason is that people trust the family with the message. It's how it sort of evolved itself, that they want the family to bring the message out from him. So he gives, and there's a lot that other people might not say, uh, because of how difficult it is to, like they won't say certain things. So we have to do that. That's why I've got all these cases on me. But I have a arrest warrant, and I chose not to get a bail on this one, because if I get a bail on this one, they'll put me in another case. There are 80 cases, so they can put me in any case. So I chose
How
not
many
to have it.
cases?
80. I'm nominated in 70 or 80 cases. And most of them are that I brought, that the criminal charges are that I gave a message from my brother in which he said, like to come out in a rally or something on a date. That resulted in XYZ. So, and I'm basically they're shooting the messenger.
But why haven't they arrested you yet? You think so they can, quiet
Yeah,
silence
because
the messenger?
I said I'm going around with they will. Most probably they will.
You think they will arrest you?
Yeah, they will. I'm speaking to you. It's there's enough said. They should arrest. They will eventually. My son's is most probably to put pressure on me, and they can, because it is a one-man rule right now by my brother. We all know it in Pakistan. It's not, you already know that. The media knows it. It all goes back. It's not an institution, more than that. It's what my brother calls that it's a little, anywhere in the world. It's never a whole country. It's never the whole military, never the police. It's not all institutions. It's a small gang that develops. It's a nexus of some politicians that they use as a front. Then there's and what you call the establishment is not just the military. It's a complete nexus of businessmen and politicians, and so they make it becomes a little clique. It's all books tell you that, but it's hanging on to the control. And what is the control? It's money. It's financial. It's how they'll most probably, this government which is sitting here right now, they're all busy selling state projects and companies, and it's all transactional. So this is like one big company trying to control a country. So it will not last. It is what you are saying is happening. What you said, that when things start boiling,
the boiling water is reaching a certain level where it explodes in their face.
You see, you don't know when it's going to happen. You should see what people are saying on the streets. Hear the people. They're not listening to the people. A gun is not going to work when you start abusing people to that level. When economically they're suffering right now. Economics, you need business. You don't live off debt. But what does it mean when you say 2.5 million people leave the country? 2.5 million people in 3 years. Why are they leaving? So things are moving in a direction, and I think it's positive. It's positive because people are aware. Unless people are not ready for change, change will not happen. Change only happens when they're ready for the change, and that is very important in Pakistan. In earlier times, maybe even 4 years ago, people accepted status quo. People accepted that this is their lot. But no, not now. Things had to be that bad for people to now need the change. Now they're saying we want change. This is not sustainable. So we have to continue with what. If this is the last message, it's okay. But the thing is, we have to continue. Tomorrow's my son's hearing in court. They're going to present one of my sons in court because he's on remand with the police. So if they don't,
Sharez or Shoshan?
Shirshah's tomorrow, and my other son is on the 30th. My brother's case was cancelled. Bushra, and this case that was in jail court is Bushra and his wife and Imran Khan, and then he's only in jail for one bail hearing, which that judge won't give a hearing date for the past 4 or 5 months. So the moment that case comes into court, the judge has to give a bail. So there's only one case. So they are in a hurry in jail court to convict them, so that they should convict them first and then they get a bail. So they keep rolling over cases but we are not going to have him stay in jail for that long.
Last two questions, Miss Aleema. First, in the post that your brother put out earlier today, he said a grand rally will be held in Peshawar against the ongoing oppression and fascism across the country, the date of which will be announced by the party. So first, isn't that the first time in a long time that he calls for protests, or he's done that before?
He's called for it. He's already said that in August, in the beginning of July, he said, you've got to go towards a movement. You've got to basically protest, like go out for a movement. So there've been more arrests since then, but this time he's called it in Peshawar, which is PTI's government in Peshawar, in that province, in what they call the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. And
so
Peshawar
this month,
is the capital.
He said this month, so it'll be in the next few days. You're expecting a big rally in Peshawar?
Next month. No, he said
next month. Okay.
Next month, in I think September, in a few weeks' time. He's also asked his party people holding positions in the government committees to leave the government committees, like the so they've sort of left the government committees in the National Assembly.
Ms. Aleema, one last statement I want to get your thoughts on, and a pretty tough question. Apologize if it's an insensitive question. So first you said, quote, if they want to arrest someone, arrest me, but targeting our children reveals their fear, which you said that in our last interview as well. So you repeated that statement. You seem ready for the arrest, which is heartbreaking to hear. You also said the authorities are endangering his life and attempting to weaken him by keeping him in poor condition. And that's about your brother, Prime Minister Imran Khan. My question to you, Ms. Aleema, is, are you worried they could do what happens in Egypt and they could try to harm him, or, I'll be direct, kill him?
They've already he's had 2 assassination attempts on him. One in which he had 3 bullet wounds and 2 shrapnels in his leg. So well, as he said, Allah gave him, I mean, he lived to tell us the tale. That was one attempt. There was one attempt there was going to be an attempt in the judicial complex. They've done it in his helicopter, and somebody told us that there've been another couple of attempts. So he's aware of that. He's aware of the fact that it could. Why would they want him alive? Like, they've done it before. Why wouldn't they do it now? But the only difference is that they thought the fear of death in jail might sort of encourage him to come out on their terms. And that's why there was an article a few days ago by a journalist, and he said that, Imran should apologize if he doesn't want to see the same fate as Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who was, he was hung by one dictator. So that created such an uproar. Remember, now you have social media and people have a voice. It created such a huge uproar that you think you're going to do that to Imran Khan. So we have to fight at every forum. We are not killing people, but we can speak up for him. Like, there's an international community, right? Okay, we don't have justice system in Pakistan, but what about the international community? I think as in the changing world, the global relationships are now going to be challenged by the people of the countries now. If you're an American or if you're an Australian, I get calls from Australia. I've got people who've sort of written to me from Australia that we feel really bad because you're a country which are part of our Commonwealth, and I forgot that. I said, suddenly I remembered. I said, yes, Pakistan is a member of Commonwealth. And if you look at the Charter of the Commonwealth countries, so what are the main points in the Charter? It is democracy, it is rule of law, and it's human rights. So when a country doesn't follow, if there's a dictatorship, at what point do Commonwealth countries come together to raise their voice for the people of that country? Isn't that the whole idea of when you become part of a community? So Britain leads the Commonwealth, correct? But I have never seen a British government or Australian government say that we do feel that the right of the people, which is the common values of the charter, the common values of the charter, if the three main points are not being followed by a country, the other countries, member countries, should be raising their voice. So is there any point in all these UN, and is there any point in having commonwealths? Yes, I think the where they have come together and formed a forum like BRICS, or the 20 the G20 and the G9 or whatever, those are working. You know why? Because those are it's based on economic cooperation. But when it comes to human rights, when it comes to rule of law, when it comes to democracy, we don't see that seems to be something that motivates people or countries to support each other. That when we talk about democracy, most of the developed countries have talked about democracies in other countries for a long time, and human rights. I remember hearing about women's rights in Afghanistan or education in Afghanistan. That's the easy part, right? So what about Pakistan? How come nobody talks about the abuse of women? 100,000 homes broken into, women abused, children abused. How come after 100,000 homes broken into, women put behind bars, innocent, poor victims in jail, political victimization to this extent? So you do wonder, why wouldn't they talk about human rights? But we do respond to cooperation, economic cooperation. But we understand mines and minerals. We understand where there's an opportunity. So why shouldn't everybody say that, listen, we have to go by our business of, we have to look after our own people. We are interested in where we get a good deal. And it's much nicer, to be honest, to tell you the truth, for governments to be honest. That's why I said it might have been disheartening when people give us their foreign policy or national interest, when governments talk about it. But what social media has done is connected the world together. And now you see people-to-people contact. People have gone direct with each other, and they are now going to be rewriting what foreign policy is. And that is the better future in the world. I believe in it. Not in our lifetime, but in your lifetime, you'll see a better world. And you people are playing a catalyst role in making that happen.
I cannot agree more with your latest statement. And I hope we continue seeing the pressure. We know Amnesty International put out a statement saying that what happened to your two sons last week, it was an unlawful abduction, and they called it as part of a political witch hunt against you and your family. So the world is watching, and I hope we see more pressure from the world. Also, we see some sort of resolution, peaceful resolution to the matter, that hopefully ends this what I see as a political witch hunt. So, Ms. Aleema, I hope won't be your last interview. I know you've got an arrest warrant, but I really hope you continue speaking out, continue doing interviews, and we see some sense in those that are seeking your arrest. Also, wish you all the best with your court hearings for your two sons, and my well wishes to Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife, when it comes to their health, and your nephew as well. I really appreciate your time again, and I hope to be able to speak to you again under better circumstances.
Thank you.